Welcome to episode number 2 of the midmajor.com women's basketball podcast. My name is Derryl Trujillo, the national women's basketball contributor for midmajorbasketball.com. Joining us on the podcast here on a Thursday just before the 4th of July is the head coach of the LMU Lions, Aarika Hughes. Hughes guided the Lions to their first WCC regular season championship in 2+ decades, an appearance in the WBIT, and a semifinal appearance in the West Coast Conference Tournament. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Coach, I guess we start with the big question in the room. How do you go from four straight seasons of single-digit wins in the WCC to the regular season championship, a semifinal appearance in the tournament, and an appearance in the WBIT?
I know that's like the million-dollar question that everyone keeps asking me, and there's no fun cookie cutter answer. It's going to be pretty standard of what you would expect, and it's honestly just sticking with the process. Players win games. I know coaches have to put players in positions, and for us, clearly getting the right players in combination was a big thing. Staying healthy for us finally was another big thing that we needed to kind of get over the hump the last couple years. But if you were to ask me, after the previous season with 24, 25, recruiting that 25, 26 class, I told them the year before, you couldn't tell me that we didn't win. And they're looking at me like I'm nuts, right? We I think won 7 games in conference the year before. We started off really hot. We had some really great pieces that we were thinking that were going to kind of come into play slowly that just couldn't stay healthy, unfortunately. And with a lot of youth and limitations, we really struggled because the WCC, as we know, is a bear. So the culture shift, really us focusing on the things that mattered and getting the right combination of human beings in the gym really laid a great foundation so that when you brought in competitive driven talent to complement what that foundation had built to Nadia Evans, Carly that first year, Maya getting all those reps, Brandy Williams and the other players that were out on the floor, it really gave us an opportunity to build off of that going into the next year. So a little bit of culture, a little bit of staying healthy, and then not wavering from what we believed in is how I believe we ended up with the outcome of having a historical season.
And now you turn the page. Considering that you lost 5 of your 6 top scorers and 4 of your top 4 starters, does it make it easier to turn the page from 25-26 to 26-27 and a revamped WCC?
Yeah, I think all of us are trying to figure out how this works. I know this is probably jumping the gun with the conversations and topics we're going to talk about today, Derryl, but that 5th year that as it's gotten past, it just every year, I believe us as Division 1 coaches and other levels have had to get creative with how do you retain, how do you stay consistent? If you're a system team, how do you build on that with knowing you're going to be graduating players that you're getting from the portal and what you can kind of, more or less afford. For us, it's exciting because we have a lot of returners that were younger that maybe weren't the guys but are primed and ready. Allison Clark is having a great season so far, and she'll be a junior. We have some other players that are coming up that maybe sat behind Paula, sat behind Carly and Jess that are now getting opportunities. And then you go out and you try and replace those kids. And to say that you're going to get the exact pieces, I mean, that's nuts. Jess is Jess. Angela is Angela. Ivana is Ivana. But you try and mimic and replicate at least who they were as people, because I think the basketball piece is the easiest part.
You've added some nice pieces in this portal class. Shawnee Nordstrom, the 5'8" guard from CBU, who was part of Jared Olson's WAC tournament championship team last season. And then you added a transfer from Stony Brook, and Stony Brook has had some success in the recent past. Kind of talk about those newcomers and the roles that you're looking for them to fill.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple players that are coming in that I think on paper are not just from winning programs, but themselves are great players outright. Getting to know them right now is kind of where we're at. I think I know for a fact with our way of recruiting, it really is trying to identify the type of person you are. I know that sounds really cliche, but what we found, especially with our system, what we're asking, how we want to play our philosophy, when you can identify talent, that's great. All of us now have to figure out what can you afford as far as your price range for top players. And the basketball part, I think, is easy, but it's really blending them all together. Shawnee has already come out here and has done some really great things, as Janae and the others. For me, it's really just about seeing what we're at. Our three focuses for this summer: learning, right? Connecting, so getting to know each other, relationships, we're team basketball, how close can we get over the summer? And then committing, once we get to the point of understanding what we have, what direction we're going, and we allow our players to define kind of what that looks like, and we work in collaboration with them, then we get to the part of what are we really trying to get to this year? What is this team going to be capable of? And it's fun, as you were talking about, when you get to attract really high level players from winning programs as well.
What's that process like of getting to know new players that have, come in from the portal or high school freshmen? What's that process like during your 6, 7 week summer session before you get to the start of the academic year?
Yeah, for us, I think what we've seen a lot of success in is asking a lot of questions. Um, the way that I was mentored and trained, and brought up, not just as a player but as a coach, a lot of this stuff is regimented. You kind of know what you have, you know what you want to work on. A lot of us, depending on how you recruit, you could be kind of starting over every summer, and having to build that out. So this 6 to 7 weeks is letting them play, letting them really connect, asking them questions, coaching at a level that's intense, but still keeps the athlete grounded and calm. A lot of what we see with high achieving athletes is that frustration of not being able to get to what they're normally doing because they're in a new environment. So how can we elevate their play and develop them while also getting them to really access what they do naturally? And then, yeah, I think it's, again, what works, what coaching responses, what do they do when they're stressed, when they lose? I'm focusing on more on that. The basketball stuff is the easy piece. So it's really learning and building trust on and off the court, which with each individual athlete, with myself and my staff, but also the most important thing is getting them connected with one another. And our returners have built our program off of that. And I think that's what attracted all these new players in the first place. So I know they're already spending a ton of time with each other. We see inside jokes, we see them hanging out already. I think that's the best part about the summer, is giving them time to really know one another. It'll make it a lot easier when we are demanding a lot from them in the fall.
Has that process changed over the years from when you were a player to now?
Yeah, I think that, the intensity of practice was a lot different in the summer. Whether we were practicing in the summer, in the fall, it kind of stayed the same. There was never, maybe more of a allowing us to kind of walk in and figure things out. Why? Because most of us knew each other, whether you were coming in and the newest group or the youngest players on the team. So your seniors and your juniors really drove what that looked like. And I think now, like I said, depending on if you're able to retain or how many players you have back, it really is trying to take the pressure and tension out of a lot of anxious and excitement. More so for us, at least that's the philosophy that we have, is we gotta keep it light in the summer, figure out what we have, get them to communicate, versus, hey, let's hit them with all the intensity that I was probably coached with a little bit more in the summer times.
Let's take a look at the WC. It's a new look WCC with some of the traditional powers heading for the revamped Pac-12.
Mhm.
Oregon State, Gonzaga, and the Washington State and the like heading for the Pac-12. Is it still as good a league as it was with those three there?
Yeah, I mean, and you're talking about the WCC.
Yeah.
In a way, you can look at it as we went down, we didn't. Those are three coaches that I've either been recruited by, I've coached against as an assistant, or clearly as a head coach, and they're very well respected and very successful. Losing them or having them leave our conference, as much as I think all of us are like, "Ooh, okay, great." Now it's a little bit more comparable. You can't deny the fact and the representation that all three of those schools had, especially Gonzaga being an original WCC school. I also then shift and look to the way that the game has changed and the access that has in its that it has, and all of us being private institutions, not a lot of that stuff is public, but we talk with each other, ads talk with each other. We're more even, 1 through right now. This year is going to be 10. I know that we're adding more teams as we go forward. There's some really smart coaches in our conference that also have access to what they need to put a roster together. So I look at it, if anything, things just evened out more, and you really can't tell the difference between. I think whether you're picked whatever place at the beginning of the year or not, I think all of us, it became an even playing field, and now we're going to see really the talent of how many, how many kids can you get, how many kids can you keep healthy, because everybody, I think, has an opportunity to be put in a position to win in the WCC moving forward.
What's it like to now come into a season with the target on your back, right, as the defending regular season champions? I know you guys didn't get it done in Vegas and ultimately get to the promised land, but you're going to have the target on your back starting 26, 27.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to being there. If I'm going to be so honest, I'm used to this position versus the latter. I've spent more of my career with having to understand complacency kills. The drive that you have, you don't want to cause pressure. We want to keep the focus on the same thing that got us there. But this is more of my norm than, really trying to get to the top. It happened very quickly from what everybody else saw on the outside. The result was pretty drastic, but the process for me, it was coming. We just had to get there and had to stay true to who we were. It feels great to be in a position where we are considered a top program. But as we know, it's a new year. I have high expectations for our group, and those expectations have nothing to do with wins. It has nothing to do with placement. It has everything to do with where we see our program moving and the focuses that we put in, knowing that this program is going to continue to grow. And if we focus on those things, good things will happen.
Does a year like that kind of reinvigorate a program? I mean, what was the buzz in the arena like? As you're working through the WCC, the longtime Lions supporter that maybe had been around
Mm-hmm.
in 0304 when you guys last won. What was the reaction like from them as you guys, you beat Gonzaga for the first time in 35 tries. You win 9 straight games for the first time since
Mm-hmm.
0304. What was the reaction like from the longtime Lions women's basketball fan?
It was huge, Daryl. I think that's probably outside of watching my staff celebrate when we knew that we had done something pretty special. Outside of watching my players, right? I think the next best piece was watching the response from campus and for all of our alum that have been supportive, that have gradually continued to be involved. And as you know, when you get momentum, more people come around, they come back. We've always had a really strong support from the team that you are referring to that won it last. And feeling that, yeah, the invigoration, the excitement, the buzz, it was something really unique, really special. And I know I'm extremely proud about how we were able to represent our university, especially for those women that wore this jersey, that fought, that put us in that contention, that the only other, I think postseason or at least conference championship that we had in that year. So really a lot of pride, a lot of connection, a lot of celebration, but also just really, 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 really happy for our alum to be able to sit there and see us do it in the way that they felt that they did it before.
When you got the job, did you envision it being this quick? 6 years in. Talk about your expectations when you got the job and kind of how long you thought it might take to get to this part of the WCC.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be honest, I actually talked with my AD and he's like, "Hey, I thought you probably would have done it a little bit quicker." And I was like, "Really?" And I think it's because of the confidence that he had in me. I don't think either one of us predicted how much of a shift the game would take. And it's not an excuse, it's just the parameters and the rules changed. I got a job in 2020, 2021, right? And there has not been the same rules of how you recruit, not a single year that I've been a coach. So taking the job and my expectations, I no, nothing, not the whole entire process. I don't think I expected, which I think is the beauty of all of this and why I can sit here and honestly just be proud. It's hard for me to say that I'm working on it, to be proud of myself, of trying to piece together enough of what I was prepared for. And then you get thrown completely different, essentially, rules and how you're supposed to build a roster, how you retain a roster, graduate, how do you fundraise, what do things, you're truly putting out a product that you envisioned at the beginning. The challenge to that was fun, but no, I don't think I could have ever told you that this is how it would unfold, and I think that's the beauty of sports.
You were a longtime assistant before stepping the one seat over. Talk about, some of your the head coaches you spent time with as an assistant and maybe what you learned along the way.
Yeah, I have to give a lot of credit. My dad has been the first coach that I've ever really been around, and I think he's instilled a lot of the temperament that I have. And Mark Track is right there as far as true growth, understanding Division One, how to recruit, whether it was as a player, but definitely when I was an assistant, also gave me my first shot. I had the pleasure while I was coaching with him. He's definitely someone that's, baptism by fire almost, which is the best way to learn is to do. And he is someone that is a huge advocate for ensuring that women of color, get opportunities. You have to be competitive, you have to be driven. He wants talent around him that's proactive. And my first job being at New Mexico State, I got to learn underneath him, but I also got to learn underneath Tamara Inouye, who is a phenomenal coach, extremely successful down at UCI. And me and her have become very close friends and family learning from her. She actually boxed my ears in pretty good when I was younger. She was somebody that really held me to a high standard. I was terrified, just of the expectation that she had. And then knowing that my former coach gave me a shot and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And he took a chance on me. But again, the discipline, the vision, the temperament that you have to be able to coach, being able to go and learn a completely different system, and not necessarily have a connection with Mike Bradbury at New Mexico. For him, I think the biggest takeaway when I was mentored by him was keeping things simple. Nothing for him was anything that wasn't within the plan. He knew how to adapt and adjust, but he was really great at coming up with what he could assess our team could do. He put a plan together and he was really great at sticking to it. So I think with the combination of my dad being there with the temperament and just having the joy, he's really big with the joy, how you connect with players. Coach Track is a basketball mind guru. He's someone that understands not just how to push you, but also how to build relationships, and keep the whole person really important. Tamara, from anything of how to be a great assistant, like she was someone that told me, taught me, sat with me, molded me, challenged me, and then getting an opportunity to work for Mike Bradbury and figuring out how do you simplify something to then, keep things consistent and also to chunk things up so that your players and your staff also understand how to stay in cadence with you. So really fortunate with the people that I was able to learn from. And hopefully I'm doing them, a good service and I'm representing them, with the way that I coach and lead my program.
You talk about that process of getting to know players. LMU's in a great spot in LA, right on the coast. What's that process like on the summer? Lots of beach days, lots of barbecues at Coach A's house in the backyard.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're here all the time. Our kids love the sun. We love the sun. We love to be outside. So we actually structure our practices where we practice Monday through Thursday, and we give off Friday through 4 days on, 3 days off, and that is truly to allow us to go to explore, to enjoy. We play an indoor sport. We also know our sport is the longest out of any college season if you do it the right way. So giving that balance and that connectivity, and yeah, we're in Los Angeles. We're going to enjoy. That's part of the luxury. And hey, if we're paying the amount of money that we're paying for rent, Derryl, we're gonna enjoy the beach, with everything else that it comes with, and we have a good time for sure.
Absolutely. I know it's barely the 4th of July, but as we look ahead to 26, 27 in November and the dawn of a new campaign, what can you tease about your non-conference schedule at this point?
It is competitive, in the best ways. I think it's balanced. And, our goal was to ensure that we were putting together a resume that if right on track, for us, we had enough returners. I believe we attracted enough talent that challenging us a little bit more early, so that we're able to hopefully turn that corner a little bit earlier, even for last year, but also thinking about seeding postseason, if we're fortunate enough. Again, we got to get through non-conference, and we already know the WCC is a buzzsaw, but definitely competitive, in trying to position this group so that we're sitting nice postseason with whatever we're able to accomplish.
Anything specifically you can tease? I know you traditionally have your Christmas tournament. That was actually kind of one of the couple games I tuned into last year was you guys in Southern Utah, which that game turned into a barn burner over the break.
Yeah,
One of
yeah.
my favorite games to watch over Christmas last year was that game.
Oh, cool. I'm excited. We definitely had some redemption after the game before with Weber State. Great coach. That was a fun game. It was. And happy with the way we responded the night before. But this year we won't be hosting. We'll be playing close to Christmas, so two single games that'll be at home.
Okay.
Going to, going to we'll be making an appearance at UNLV for their Thanksgiving tournament. So again, going to play Lindy. Lindy, as we know, dominant, best in the game coming up, amazing mind, amazing recruiter. And I know for her, that'll be a great test for us early. And then, what else? What else can I share? We might have a former WCC school that ended up leaving. They may show up on our non-conference schedule as well to keep some of that WCC head to head alive. And well, I want to play the best, and I know that the WCC attracts the best, so we may see one of those three teams on our non-conference schedule as well.
Gotcha. Kind of talk about being in California. You have I've explored this with Jared Olson a number of times.
Yeah.
You've got 11 Division One institutions in California, right? You barely have to leave the state for a non-conference if you legitimately don't want to.
Sure. You don't have to. No, things are, I mean, I mean, you literally took the words out of my mouth. Where would you have to go? I do think that trying to take kids to get to other spaces, different styles of basketball, exposing them to traveling, long trips, tournaments, things of that nature. We definitely want to do that. And I also know, Derryl, it comes with the territory. When you win, harder to schedule. Crazy how much easier it was to schedule before, which is a good and a bad problem, right? Either way, a little bit harder this year, maybe to get some local games in that we normally would be able to. And also being very aware of the big heavy hitters that are around us and right down the street with UCLA and USC, who always are, hey, we're totally willing. I'm like, yeah, let's give us a minute. Let's give us a minute. But definitely would love to look at that in the future as well.
Um, okay, you talk about the travel piece of it. The WCC, in its previous incarnation and its current iteration,
Mhm.
you're logging the frequent flyer miles.
Oh yeah.
What's been your favorite WCC trip?
Oh man, anytime I get to go home, even though playing Coach Meek is not fun, not scouting, not playing unless the buzzer goes off, and I haven't been on the winning side of those matchups very frequently. But I do think going to the Northwest for me is always a great trip.
Gotcha. Um, we'll close here with a little bit of a rapid fire type of a deal.
Yeah.
Um, we'll start with what is one show that is on the Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, Tubi streaming binge watching list this summer?
Yes. Gosh. Oh my gosh, Derryl, I'm so bad at the names of these things, but okay, so Apple TV, I had never seen Shrinking. And I just started, it's a series, psychologist that unfortunately loses his wife, and he is actively trying to help other people. So watching him also struggle, and it is a comedy. It's a pretty good show. So that's definitely one that I'm starting and definitely want to finish.
Gotcha. What's your favorite kind of off-campus restaurant in the LMU area?
Ooh, LMU area. It's either Benny's, Mexican food. It's within 2 blocks off of our campus. Um, or I would go with there is a restaurant right down the street over in Playa Vista called Retrovo, and it's Italian. So between the two of those.
Okay. Uh, if we were to go into the office and check the refrigerator, what's in the refrigerator for snacks and munchies?
Okay, it is either the little cheese, so it's like the cheese, crackers, some combination of cheese, crackers, and nuts. Protein shakes, Premier protein shakes, sparkling water, and probably something that I've packed for lunch.
Gotcha. Um, game day or favorite game day superstition?
Ooh, what either perfume I'm wearing or yeah, perfume or the song that I pick that I'm listening to on the way in if it's a home game or on the bus going to the game if it's an away game.
Gotcha. Um, let's see. Last book you read.
Last book I read, Ego is the Enemy.
Okay.
by Ryan Holiday.
Um, last movie you saw.
Ooh, Wuthering Heights on Valentine's Day with my aunt for her birthday, which was, let me tell you, a very interesting experience. So we'll leave that there.
All right. Um, favorite airport pastime.
Ooh, it's gotta be nothing to do with basketball. If I'm able to reading, I love reading and I do nonfiction, fiction, the works, but I love people watching. So if I'm able to pick like a playlist, I feel like I have everything done. I'm waiting, I'm kind of hanging out just to turn my brain off and just watch and observe, just kind of hang out would be my favorite pastime if it's not watching film or taking a phone call.
All right. You win the WCC tournament at the Orleans this year. What's the first move you break out on the floor after the cutting down of the nets?
Probably bending over and if tears haven't already happened, that hugging my parents and probably just taking a moment to look. I've spent a lot of time, as you know, in Orleans Arena, and just to be able to be present and really soak all of that moment in, I think would be probably the main thing that I would want to do.
All right. Um, kind of as we finish up this rapid fire, what's the biggest message you have for Lion Nation as we get to 26, 27,
Yeah.
and you guys try to repeat and not, prove that this was a one-hit wonder. What's your biggest message for Lion Nation?
Think be consistent, show up. We're going to continue to focus on us, the connection that we have to our fans and the supporters that we've had. We clearly want to grow, but we are doing everything that we can make this, like you said, a legacy. Showing up, supporting, being excited, the connectivity that we want to be able to have, the interaction that we want to be able to have with our fans, and having high expectations. Don't lower them. Don't expect that this was a one-time thing. Don't look at it as LMU can only accomplish this. I mean, I don't want to limit ourselves, hence why I don't want to say, hey, let's be champions. Well, if we're just champions, what does that mean about what we look like from years before? I want to be the best version of what we can be every single day. So if people can hold us to that, I think that we're gonna make them proud, and most importantly, make ourselves proud.
Did you Here we go. Did you feel like last year, losing in the WB, losing in the WC semifinal, even though you got to the WBIT, it kind of put a damper on things? Because as mid majors, you're kind of measured by 3 days in March, right?
Mhm. Yeah. No, of course we were disappointed. I have a lot of, I guess, experience in coming up short and taking and deciding to take what you can gain from those opportunities to move forward and knowing what our players would need, whatever outcome that we experienced, it was in alignment with the highest version of what we needed that year. And to me, knowing how we've gotten here, there's been a lot of perceived failure. This was a step, this was an adjustment that we needed to see. I would be lying to you right here, Derryl, if I told you it didn't hurt like crazy and watching our kids, but I also thought, what do you take out of this? How do you go in the BIT drawing Stanford? I have a lot of experience of playing in Maples. Again, not a place that I've won a ton in, but the goal at that point was we're not afraid of anybody. We respect everybody. We knew Stanford was good. We knew Oregon State was good. Anybody that we played, but being able to walk away, take adjustments, move forward, and knowing that this historical season, that last bit can't overshadow everything we overcame, especially knowing how far this group and this program, has come over the last 6 years. So, yeah, stung a little bit, great motivation. But if anything taken away, what can you learn from those moments so that you can capitalize and be better so that the next opportunity that presents itself, you're ready. You're ready. And that's the only thing you have in life is a response. So for us, we're ready to respond.
And especially for that group of returners that you do have that sat behind those stars and watched them, take this program on that ride. LMU coach Aarika Hughes, thank you so much for joining us here on a Thursday afternoon. Happy 4th of July, and best of luck to the Lions as they look to defend the revamped WCC championship from 25-26.
Appreciate that, Daryl.